So I made it to the UK and I'm in Worcestershire up at Fladbury. This is the Fladbury Mill on the River Avon that runs all the way to my hometown. But I'm really excited about today's video. It's to meet with Jake Oxton at Oxton Organics, and it's one of the few small, diverse, profitable farms in the UK. I met Jake in online training during the winter time and I'm super excited to meet him and go see around his farm. Good to be with you, Jake.
Oh, it's great to have you here.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to be here, and yeah, maybe you can just tell the viewers, like in a nutshell, what this, how big's the farm and what's going on here.
Okay, yeah, sure. So we're 12 acres. We're in.
That's about 5 hectares.
About 5 hectares, yeah, more or less. And we're in the Vale of Evesham in the UK, which is in Worcestershire. We're about an hour's drive away from Birmingham. This whole area used to be market gardens and plum orchards. Traditionally, we used to be like the market garden for Birmingham, which is the second biggest city in the UK. But that kind of died out after the Second World War, when like agriculture had changed. But my folks set up when they went to agriculture college in the local town. They met there and they picked up this land for quite cheap. We own 5 acres and we rent 7 acres off the council. So they were one of the first vegetable box schemes in the UK.
Pioneers. I think they're number 17 as a registered organic business, right?
Yeah, one of the first members of the Soil Association. And they were they set up a website and a shop which could deal with kind of bespoke orders of vegetable boxes way back in 1999, which was like, must have been one of the first. It was before all the kind of the big nationwide box schemes were set up. So they've managed to kind of compete with the kind of rise of the supermarkets and stay profitable and stay competitive. And I grew up here. Like, I wasn't actually interested in agriculture at all. It looked like a lot of work for not much money. I was into design and art, and I studied illustration. And then I was traveling a bit, and I got really into ecology, and I kind of started to value what my upbringing on the farm, and I realised that actually I was very interested in agriculture as a way of supporting kind of ecological integrity. I'd been living in a community in Spain where I'd done a permaculture design course, and I was kind of all inspired to get into agriculture. I was inspired by like the work of people like Martin Crawford using a lot of perennial crops, and I kind of naively thought I could just come back and plant a food forest and everything was going to be cool, when my parents already had this really like viable, diverse business.
Yeah, really established.
And like I didn't even realise how privileged I was to have that. I kind of thought I was going to come back and we were going to stop doing veg boxes and just grow like hawthorn berries or something like that. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I came back and I kind of got, and I think because I studied design, I got really inspired by, like, I found your work and I found the work of like Curtis Stone and people like that, and I got actually really into market gardening and started to value the productivity of production farming basically, and I'm still really passionate about integrating the permaculture stuff into it. Like we've got a lot of agroforestry plans that we're working on at the moment, and we're going to start planting this winter. So I want to bring the best aspects of permaculture, much like your work, and integrate it into what I'm so privileged to have. And because I've already got access to this awesome business and amazing farm and a huge wealth of knowledge, my folks have been growing veg for 30 years, that I'm really privileged in that I can just come and plant and like really get the agroforestry going and just optimize the growing a bit. So my parents, we've got quite a famous agricultural college in the town called Perkins Agriculture College, and it's my parents have both gone there to study. My mum was studying perennial nursery crops, and my dad was studying veg production, and they met there, and they had a kid, my sister, and they decided that they wanted to get land. My dad was working for other growers in the area and just finding it frustrating, people who were basically pretending to be organic, and they were quite passionate about setting up their own farm. So they found this plot of land which was a 5-acre rhubarb farm, or had been a rhubarb farm, and and they came and they bought it, and we moved into the land in caravans, where we lived for 13 years in caravans before we built the house. And then we had the opportunity to rent this parcel of land, which is 7 acres, from the council. It's like a county lease. And yeah, so they came into farming when there was still quite a big wholesale market where you could still just make a living off selling like a big crop of runner beans and stuff like that, you know. But that kind of changed even just within the first years of them farming. They were struggling to access wholesale markets and get a good price. So they read a newspaper article about someone setting up a box scheme, which was actually Guy Singh Watson from Riverford Farms. I mean, the way that Jane, my mother, describes it is that, you know, it just clicked, but they knew that was the future of the sales model for the business. So it was kind of going into the unknown a little bit, but they went to the local village fete and they set up a stall, and they had like a piece, just a little spreadsheet that they'd drawn up with pen and paper, and they got people to sign up, and within 2 years they had a waiting list. Like, it just took off totally, and they delivered. They used to deliver within about 20 miles. We're a bit smaller delivery radius now, but they used to deliver to Cheltenham and Worcester and into some of the Cotswolds. But we're a fairly high population density compared to Sweden, and so we can keep a very local customer base. And yeah, I mean, they were part of the kind of first wave of organic farmers, I guess, in the UK when it really took off. And as I said before, they're like one of the first members of the Soil Association. And it's just grown from there, really. They struggled when, before. I've got a friend who I've worked with here for the past 3 years or so. He got into growing when we were travelling together, and he came when my parents were really starting to struggle. Like, my dad he'd just had some serious ankle surgery, and he was, the physical side of farming he was really struggling with, and so the business had contracted quite a lot to be able to deal with that. And my mother was really struggling. She was just working stupid amounts, and my friend Rakesh came into the business, and he basically like increased the capacity so they could make a living again, basically. And he's a grafter. He's like super hard working, and he really kind of saved them, really. And then, what I was saying, I'd done that PDC, and I was like, awesome, my parents have got a farm I can play with. And so I came back as well, and it's been, since that point of coming back to the farm, the learning curve has just been like a right angle. It's been huge, and I've learnt a huge amount in this past couple of years. And that's kind of where we're at now, I guess. The business model that I'm working with is pretty much the same thing that they set up. It's not changed a huge amount. I've taken on a bit more wholesale custom, which I just do all through online spreadsheets, which has kind of been something that I've set up separate to the existing business. I think I mentioned this already, but I'm just hugely privileged to have access to this. Like, I've watched some of the videos that Richard's put out of other farmers setting up startups, and it's all that establishing the market and bringing the production in and building the infrastructure is something that I've had landed on my doorstep, like, literally. So yeah, I'm hugely grateful for that, and totally in awe of the people who are starting up from scratch. I mean, the amount of labour it takes just to maintain this business and farm, let alone start a business from scratch, is epic, really. So yeah, nice one, guys.
It looks beautiful, Jake. Like, how many square meters have you got here?
2,800 square meters of bed space outdoors, plus another 600 of protected cropping in the polytunnels.
Wow, and two of you managing that, basically?
Most of the outdoor stuff is just the two of us, and then my mother tends to do the polytunnels a bit more. But it's been mostly 3 people in the team for the past couple of years.
And you're doing totally no dig?
Yeah, totally no dig.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, this patch has been no dig for a couple of years. This was the original trial plot, and then some of the polytunnels have been no dig for 3 years. they'd already gone no digging with polytunnels even before I came back, which is just a total no-brainer. Like tilling in polytunnels is crazy, if you ask me.
But you've been quite instrumental with bringing this no dig to the sort of more field scale, no?
Totally. Yeah.
This is your sort of first step into taking over a bit.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I've managed to systematise the mulching and the crop management in a way that works with the no dig, because there are jobs which have been created by going no dig which we wouldn't have done before. Before we were using a system of herbal lays and tillage to manage fertility.
So that's for viewers. They were like shifting their cultivation.
Yeah.
So putting it back to pasture for a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. So we would, after growing crops on an area for a couple of years, we'd seed it with a diverse mix of clovers and mineral accumulating plants, and that would bring the fertility back to the ground, and then you would plough that in and plant into that on a rotation.
It's a major departure from how your folks are used to doing things now.
Yeah, it has been.
How's that been emotionally, like?
I think there was a bit of tension in the team. I think my dad, especially Julian, he was a bit apprehensive about the amount of work we would be taking on to bring it into production, especially, and I think he had his, he was kind of skeptical about whether the system could work on this scale.
But it's looking super clean, Jake. I mean, it looks really good.
It's good. It's nice. I mean, this has been a bit harder to manage this year because it's not had the heavier mulch that some of the more recent beds have had.
But come on, I mean, for two of you on this scale, I'd say it's the cleanest garden I've seen except for ours. That's good to hear, man. It looks beautiful, dude.
Yeah, weed management has been we're weeding, we're definitely weeding, but we're actually achieving.
Yeah, on top of it, totally.
A nice, clean beds which are just really nice to work with, and there's a total different quality of weeding than weeding through tilled stuff. I mean, when you're going through a bed and looking for a weed and picking it out here and there, it's more like, I love foraging mushrooms, and it feels like I get the same satisfaction weeding these days because I'm kind of in there just looking for weeds, and it's really, I enjoy weeding now, which I didn't used to enjoy. And then you're using tarps also? Yeah, so we used tarps when we brought the beds in. We laid the compost, and then we tarped it. We did there's two different areas. The next one we'll see in a minute. And this area we laid the compost first. We tarped it for about 4 months. This was a herbal lay, and so we had a lot of chicory and other deep rooting plants, which kind of opened up the soil a lot. So we didn't actually broad fork in a lot of these beds. But it's something I'm going to be doing a lot more of this year because some of the soil is definitely quite tight. What's the soil like generally that you're farming on here? Sandy clay loam. It's pretty good. We're on floodplain here. We're on a kind of higher tier floodplain, so we get very occasional floods. The last one was in 2007, I think.
Wow, look at this. The brassicas look awesome.
Yeah, they've seemed to really like this system, and this patch we'd put a much heavier mulch on, and weed management has been quite a lot easier here, definitely. But the one problem we have had is that we've had huge amounts of wind blow because it's right next to where we had our tilled veg for previous year, so there has been a huge amount of flowering weeds and a lot of weed seed, and especially thistle. We've had a lot of sow thistle and other thistle species.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, nice.
But this is how are you selling this? How many customers are you selling to?
So we have between our box scheme is between about 60 and 90. It can go up to almost 100, but it fluctuates throughout the year. Orders drop off a lot in the summer holidays.
You do it as a month by month basis where the people aren't committing for the whole season, right?
They pay week by week. So
week by week.
Yeah, so they just pay as they get a box basically, and it's probably a higher administrative burden than traditional CSAs, but it means you're not locking anyone in. and I think because of that it's much easier to sign people up because they can just try a box, you know, and it works quite well for us. And because we're already, you know, we don't have any debts on the land, and you know, we don't, I think a lot of the CSA models which work well for other people, you know, are maybe not so necessary for us, and it's kind of nice that we can just grow and sell what we have and not have like a kind of obligation to people in that way. So last year we did turnover was about £70,000 on the veg boxes, but last year that included stuff that was bought in and sold. This year we should be doing about £80,000 in veg, just what we've grown, like just for sales from the stuff that we're growing.
That's awesome.
It's good. It's like,
it's really nice quality stuff as well.
It's, yeah.
Look at these beauties.
I don't know if the water's over this side. But yeah, we've had a lot of kale. Like it always seems, I think, at this time of year you've always got way too much kale, but then the winter comes, and because we're cropping all the way through winter, yeah, I mean, having a lot of kale can be. I mean, this is just rabbit protection, basically. It's,
you have a lot of rabbit pressure here?
We do have heaps of rabbit pressure here, and this is what I'm using because it's what I had available. Like my folks have been, because they've been moving the veg around the farm. They've always used this because it was mobile and they could set it up on any patch. It was really versatile.
It's not even electric though, nice.
It's not actually set up because the unit stopped working a couple of days ago. So I've just ordered a new one and it arrived. But
you'd normally have it
it's
electric?
Usually, yeah, it's usually electric. And we use Mypex like as a mulch mat around the outside of a bed just to give a buffer against the grasses and perennial weeds. If you're ever doing this to manage rabbits in veg, then you should never leave it set up and not be on, because what happens is rabbits will chew through it. If they're not getting a shock, they will chew through it and they'll make holes. And this is really old and it's full of holes. When we were going totally no dig, it's easy to see how it could seem unachievable, you know, because it is a huge amount of work and a lot of materials as well.
But you've come up with some pretty crafty ways to move.
Yeah.
Let's go have a look at that. But first I want to see, how's your compost? What do you think about it?
It's okay. It's like, this is municipal green waste, and from what I've seen of the guys over in Scandinavia, it's better than the green waste compost that they get, but it's still quite low fertility. It doesn't have you know, it's not like a manure based compost. It's basically kind of hedge clippings but the thing is, the texture's good. It's really easy to move. It's not like clumpy or, you know.
You've had a really dry summer here too, right?
Yeah, really one of the driest. It's the driest I've ever remembered. But yeah,
it's been a drought everywhere.
Yeah,
so how are you irrigating this whole lot?
So we have quite a high capacity pump coming from a spring-fed pond. And I mean, my folks put in an irrigation system which can do our whole 12 acres pretty much. So now I'm only irrigating like 1 acre. It's easy. I can run 4 lines at once. We use just like simple risers with a stake, and I get these from Access Irrigation, and we use quite a simple sprinkler head which has two outlets. So it has a long distance one and a short distance one, and because of the way it's set up, it's like the radius is like 24 meters, you know. I can put a lot of water down over quite a large space quite quickly, and because of the way we've got the garden arranged, I don't really need to do sectoring or anything like that. I just move them around. I mean, once you get practiced at moving hose pipe, it's quite quick, you know. It's not a huge amount of work. And
we didn't ask, how long are the actual beds?
24 meters.
24.
And I think that's a really great size, because if you get rolls of material, they come on 100-meter rolls.
So you get 4 cuts.
So you can just fold it in half twice and cut it. It's really quick, and it's the same if you were to do like 12-meter beds. You could just fold it again and cut it. I mean, we've had this bed of spring onions. Like usually, before when we were using tillage, you would have like we kind of do our spring onions in clumps, and like 1 in 3 would be a write-off because of white rot. And I've cropped out half of this bed, and I've not seen a single incidence of white rot.
That is awesome, dude.
It's cool, yeah. And I think that's just because of, you know, the more fungal diversity in the soil, basically. That's my theory. But
like with limited like people resources, you've been using machines a bit as well to make beds, right?
yeah, so I think
What is like? Tell us your bed prep methods and.
Okay, so I've marked out all the beds, and what I did is I've measured on the left hand side of each bed. I put in a peg, and it's on the same place at both sides, at both ends of the bed. And what I do is I have a piece of string with just a bungee cord on it, which I can attach to each peg, and that will give me like a perfect straight line where the edge of each bed is. And then what we do is we use the tractor. I mean, we've got old, like one of my tractors is like 55 years old. I'll probably go another 55 years, you know. It's just what I have around to use. And we use a link box. And we've just bought a hydraulic link box, and what this does essentially, it's like a bit like what you get on a digger, you know, or on like a dumper truck. You can drive it, you can reverse into a compost heap, and you can pick up a big load of compost, and you can basically, you know, you can drive.
It fits over the bed.
It fits over the bed, and then you dump it in piles where you want it, and you just come back and rake it out.
So on your own, you can. How long does it take to make a bed?
Like half an hour, you know, it's nothing.
Awesome.
Really. You know, probably, I don't know, maybe less. I've never timed it, but before we were just using this old link box.
Made your own thing.
Yeah, it was like, this is the link box we used to move veg around when it's too wet to use the van.
Yeah. That looks like a very good investment you made then.
It's good. It's really good. I can't remember how much it was. It was about £1,000. It wasn't that much.
That's not a lot.
It's not a lot, and you can use it with tiny tractors. I mean, I've seen them used with like tiny little compact tractors.
Yeah.
Which would be great, because these are, you know, these are a bit big to be taken on. No, dig. There is some signs of compaction around the edge of the bed.
You're talking about the old Ford here?
Yeah, this is a Ford. What is it? Fordson 3000, I think.
But it's got the right wheelbase for the beds you got.
Yeah, I mean, because we've been using a meter beds because we thought it would integrate well with the tractors. But what's been happening is that around the edge of the beds there has been compaction, like you can see with beetroot and stuff, especially where it's planted right up to the edge. But the outside ones are definitely growing slower. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reduce the size of the beds and have bigger wheelings, because at the moment the wheelings are only 40 centimetres.
Yeah. But oh man, if you keep on top of putting that material down, this is going to be totally weed free in a couple of years. Like, yeah. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
What is this machine for?
So this is, we bought this off, I think it was from a golf course, but this was something that was already here when we went no dig. I can't remember, Jane had bought it because she wanted to start taking cuts off the herbal lays to make compost so that she could go no dig in some of the tunnels. And basically it's a flail mower, but it's got a big hopper on the back, and it hoovers up all the crop residues and just and you can put it in the back. And what we do with like kind of crops like brassicas, where they're quite bulky, is we'll cut them at the bottom and we'll put them into a windrow, and we'll add straw, and then we'll hoover the whole thing up together and just dump it into a windrow. So it's like it's a really quick way to make compost.
That's awesome.
It's quite
so you're applying some slightly bigger, heavier tech to just really optimize it. And maybe you could say like what's your working week look like? Because you're having the weekend off, right?
I'm having a weekend off.
And what hours are you working in the week?
I mean, like it's been pretty intense, but then we've been achieving a lot more than we had been before. I mean, you know, like we do like 14-hour days quite often, or even more, like 16-hour days in the summer. But it's just, there's a lot to keep on top of. But one of the things is why we have to do that is because we're growing a lot of crops which are not even paying their way, basically. You know?
So that's part of your redesign now that we'll talk about in a bit, is like shaving off some of them crops, and
basically, yeah.
You're bringing in this fresh new blood to just optimize and streamline the business.
That's what I see my job as, is basically just optimizing the growing here, because like the business is pretty awesome. I mean, it works really well, but like, and if we can get like the market gardens profitable in terms of square meterage and time inputs, then it could be like a comfortable, you know, life. Like there's other stuff I want to do. I'll probably never have like a 40-hour week because I don't particularly want to. I like being out here, but I'd like to maybe spend less time doing some of the, you know, there's stuff here that when you're out on in the market gardens, it's it's not like it's not really potent work. It's a lot of kind of
things you could cut off and other things you could lever up,
basically. Yeah, just really optimizing it. Like on a year like this, when apples, it's just an amazing year.
It's been an amazing apple year.
Yeah, I mean, we've got way more than we can sell, and what we've done in the past is just made a load of apple juice, because there's a local press, but that's actually it's quite a big investment, and we don't get a lot back from it. And there's other stuff that I want to invest that capital in at the moment, so we probably won't make juice this year. But yeah, I mean, we sell the apples. I mean, we've not quite got enough to go to some of the bigger wholesale markets, so it might be something that we do with the agroforestry, is that we actually plant more apples so we can access some bigger markets. But it works well for us. I mean, it's not hardly any work. I mean, we spend maybe a day a year pruning and maintaining them. And
your father's got an interesting methodology for wrapping branches.
Yeah. Yeah, so what he does is he kind of has a few main branches, and then all these shoots that come off and grow tall, he brings down and he basically wraps them in to the tree. So
kind of ties it up in knots.
Basically ties the whole thing up in knots, and it's good, but after a while it gets a bit too intense, and we've had to, like last year, we had to prune a lot more of it out, and it was kind of tangled and annoying.
So it's like a time saver every couple of years, and then you have to take.
Basically, yeah. I don't know if it's the best way to do things, but I mean the trees are like super productive. I mean, I can't complain really.
And you're not getting any fungal rots from it?
Not really, no. I mean, there's been hardly any disease this year, and it's maybe not the best year for fungal diseases because it's been so dry, but yeah, they're good.
You got quite a diversity of crops. Do you know off the top of your head how many different crops you're growing?
When we were doing the seed order, we ordered 120 varieties. That's not just crops. I mean, that's different varieties of different crops. But yeah, I mean, too many right now.
You're growing things like corn. Is that something that will go in your plan? It's
one of those things. It's a lovely thing to grow, but I don't think it's very profitable particularly. I mean, I've got sales data on everything, so I'm going to add up what's making the money. But there's crops like corn and squash I know work really well for other local growers. So what I'm happy to do is, now we've gone to this system, it works really well with kind of more intensive profitable crops, which are hard to do, like growing rocket like we do, like baby leaf rocket. You can't do that in a tilled ground. Weed pressure is just way too high.
So you can then start trading some of these crops, because you're selling by box. You kind of need that diversity still. Yeah, so like we can sell to other growers, and we do sell to other local growers, and we can buy some of the crops which work well for them, but not so much for us. And that's how I would like it to work, because we can support other farmers. We have a pretty decent market, and that should work well. But like there's some stuff like the squash. Like this year, I counted all the squash that we were getting off different varieties, and just by using good varieties, like some of the Hokkaido squash would definitely be what I would consider profitable. Show us them ones. One of my kind of goals is to be getting about £250 per bed per crop minimum, and that's pounds money. And like this one, for example, this Hokkaido, this is a Moro, this variety, it's quite, they're kind of £2.50, £3 a squash, and that's just one bed. Whereas this one, which is Buttercup, that's 2 beds worth. It's just like a huge difference in yield between the different varieties, and people like to have the diversity on like veg stands and stuff, but for us, like that's our most popular squash, and the yield is massive. So I think that qualifies as a profitable crop, but most of the other ones don't, basically, for me. So keeping really good records on data is really empowering you to drive the business in a different way that perhaps your parents couldn't if they didn't have that data. Totally, yeah. I mean, it's really important, and I've been a bit slack with the monitoring. I should have been more on it this year. I reckon you were busy.
I mean, we were really busy, but what I want to have sorted for next year is really like solid procedures, so that because we're going to have some new staff next year as well, but I can have like logbooks where all the yield data is just recorded automatically. Like that's the way I want to have it set up, because yeah, I mean, sometimes you end up making huge assumptions, and like I had a huge assumption about squash, but this has worked out really well, and that's just from me just counting the squash as they come into the shed. You know, it took didn't take any time at all. It took 2 minutes, and that's empowered me to make a good profit off that crop now.
That is an almighty bed roller.
Yeah, I mean, because we were using a metre bed, I thought I needed a big roller, and so I got a big roller. And this is the one that Terratech do. It's 1 metre, it's 120 centimetres. But it's really big and awkward. I regret buying it, to be honest. It's like to get it from one side of a farm to the other, like my layout is really long, which is something I wouldn't do again. But you know, to get this roller from one side of a farm to the other is not a good use of time, basically.
Are you happy with the 6-row seeder?
It's great. It's one of my favourite tools. It's just like, I mean, it's super efficient, but it's also just a joy to use. You know, it's one of those tools. It's
super well made.
Such a pleasure.
I've been trying to. A few people have been wanting them 4-row seeders, and
yeah,
they're not a joy to use.
No, I didn't. I almost got one instead of a 6-row, but I'm so glad I invested.
Nah, they are rubbish. Well, mostly like standards, like market garden crops.
Yeah.
I've seen like all the typical things, but you've got a couple of unusual things. What's this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I'm usually fairly dubious about, like exotic crops, but this is something that's worked really well for us. It's called Aztec Broccoli. I think the native Mexican name is Huazantol, I think. But it's like a flowering shoot, and
it grows like a weed.
Yeah, I mean, it's like fat hen, basically. You know, it is basically like a weed, but it's really delicious. When it's tender, it's like asparagus, and it's got the flavour of kind of a spinachy asparagus. And our customers have gone mad for it. I mean, they really love it.
You're doing 200 units a week,
yeah, I mean, we get, because we've tried it wholesale with one of our bigger wholesale customers, and they take 150 bags, and then we sell another, you know, we can sell another 50 or so, sometimes 80 in the boxes. So maybe not that many, but yeah, we sell a lot, and it's probably the most profitable crop on the farm. I mean, we can take 200 bags off this. You know, wholesale we get £1.10 a bag, direct we sell it for £1.50, and you can do the same again next week, and you plant it once. It's just
awesome. Keep doing it all season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do a few plantings next year so I can keep it tender, but it's great.
That's awesome.
And
great
it's
discovery
as well, and really it's basically quinoa. It's like the flowering shoot of a quinoa plant, and it's really, really nutritious, really, really tasty.
I mean, you're saying you're doing some weeding with. I'd be curious to hear what tools you're using, but it is remarkably clean, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a bit of a push recently to get it. Like, you know, there was a few places where weed pressure did get high, but
perennial stuff lying underneath.
There are some coochies, especially
because you basically put this straight down on pasture, like.
Yeah.
This hasn't been tilled, right?
No, it was just straight down on a herbal lay and then blacked out.
For folks listening that don't know the term like herbal lay, like it was basically just pasture.
Yeah, it's just like a diverse.
And you've just put, how much have you put down? Like how thick?
So like we were going for a minimum of 10 centimeters, which isn't enough, I don't think. Like you want a minimum of, I think, 6 inches ish.
Like 15 centimeters is what I would.
Yeah, I mean, just to bring it in, I definitely think you want that much. And what happens is when you're raking it out as well, because the ground's not perfectly smooth, you do get like thinner bits, and you get areas where the weed pressure's a bit greater. But yeah, I mean, weeding management, it's been good. I mean, we're definitely it's not like we don't weed stuff. I mean, I'd like to get to somewhere like that eventually, potentially, but the weed management, it's like satisfying weed management, you know, because you weed stuff and it's clean. It's not like just doing it.
No, I think you've done exceptionally well. Like I often go to no dig startups, and it's people have not put enough material down, but I mean, to come into pasture and to have beds looking like this it looks beautiful, man.
It's good. One thing I regret not doing here is that we were going to use wood chip in the pathways, so we just laid a lot of compost in the beds, but putting the wood chip down was not achievable in the end. I'd like to find a way of doing it, but so like weed pressure in the pathways has been fairly high, and we're kind of just keeping on top of that with a wheel hoe. But I mean, yeah, it's good. And if like weed management it's about timing. You know, you got to be proactive. You can't let things get too big, because once you do that, you're just chasing your tail for the rest of the year. Like, there's always something that needs to be hand weeded before you can get to the small stuff, which is really easy and quick to weed. So like next year, there's been a few things like squash. It's been really hard to keep on top of the weed, and like in the corns and stuff, you just can't get in there to get rid of some of the couch grass and stuff like that. So,
but it's really good point. It's like if you're doing no dig and you've got a good amount of material down and you take things at cotyledon stage, it's super fast and easy, right?
So fast.
So these guys on weed control?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, yeah, like we graze them in between the tunnels because it keeps the weed pressure from the sides. You get couch grass and stuff and bindweed growing in from outdoors.
So currently, you've got sheep and pigs, but they're more for like the homestead value at this point.
Yeah, basically, like the way I think about it, like they're not a big part of the economy of the farm, but they're a big part of the ecology of the farm. You know, and it's something that we want to build on as well. Like the sheep and like ruminants on our scale are never going to be profitable, and it's something we do because we love it. But maybe like these sheep, if we can get a market for skins or wool, I mean, it could.
These are Gotland, right? They're Swedish breeders, really high value skins, and they're good to eat too, no?
They're delicious, yeah, they're gorgeous. When we took your online course, like the one animal enterprise that I thought could work really well for us would be pastured turkeys, basically, because we have a good Christmas market here, and there's there's not a lot of farms doing outdoor pastured turkeys. There's a lot of kind of like bronze turkeys, but they're all usually barn reared, and I'd really love to get more animal impacts out on the pastures, and I think that's the way I'd like to do it, just with the gobbledygos.
Is that something you're considering?
Definitely, yeah. I want to trial. I was going to trial 200 birds, but it might be a bit much. I was going to trial. I think I'd like to trial 100 birds next year, but like I need to be careful with thinning myself out too much. So
the turkeys are super low maintenance.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Yeah.
Compared to like chickens or.
Yeah, definitely. So like, yeah. I mean, I'd like to do 100 next year if I can get the infrastructure in place that I need to for the market gardens over winter. I'll build a gobbledygook in the spring and
awesome.
Give it a whirl. Yeah, so this tunnel we've got our cucumbers and basil, and we've got winter sowings of coriander and parsley going in now. And I trialled peaches here. If like with some of the smaller crops like the winter salads and stuff, like it shouldn't make any difference really to have a row of trees in there. So if I can like
kind of on a north-south?
Yeah, north-south espaliered, so it's tidy. And you know, like something like this lettuce, it should integrate quite well. And I just love peaches. It's not something I'm particularly doing for the business. It's something I'm doing so I can make myself peach pies.
Is this like last seedlings of the year going in?
Yeah, this is all winter salads. It's actually our own compost as well, and I've got like we're using the Salanova type lettuce. I don't know how well it's going to do over winter, but I've preferred it as to doing direct seeded lettuce and using the greens harvester because you can just keep the quality so much higher over a longer period. It's much easier to manage in that way. So this is we have 2 tunnels of solanums and we rotate them, and this is peppers and
beautiful
and aubergines, and we have some bush tomatoes, which I'm not going to do again.
But these peppers look awesome.
They're gorgeous. Ramiro, they're a kind of a pointy type, and they're one of the only ones you can get to ripen in properly in our climate. We get a bit of mice damage on the end sometimes, but
some nice eggplants.
Yeah, beautiful aubergines. But what happens with these is it gets right to the end of the season and you start to get heaps ripening up, and then you've got to clear it to get your winter crops in. I mean, I don't know if they're that much of a profitable crop because they take so long to get into production here. If you could heat this tunnel at the start of the season, that'd be great. I'm sure they would. They're really popular, but we're expecting frosts fairly soon, so we've kind of cleared a lot of the leaf out now, and we're just trying to ripen as many as we can before the frost.
But you're doing them quite close spacing, so
yeah,
20s?
about 30 centimetres 30? We were using this year, and just a single row as well. Before we were doing them like staggered rows at about twice as much, about 60 centimetres, and it was really messy. It was hard to manage. But we're doing tomatillos as well, which is great. But
I'm a fan of them.
I love them. I cook with them a lot, but they're not that popular. They've not been that popular with our market. But it's a shame because they're delicious.
Yeah,
so
I think
tasty,
they're really underrated.
Yeah.
What's your season in terms of frost dates, just for reference for viewers?
Like the average first frost of the year is mid-October, I think, and the last frost tends to be early May.
Okay, so you've only got like a month more than us.
Yeah,
but probably higher temperatures.
But yeah, and like the first frosts don't tend to make an impact on the tunnels. It tends to stay warm enough to keep stuff alive for a while. So
looks great, dude.
Yeah. We can keep the tomatoes going into November sometimes, but it gets to a point where you need to clear them to make room for winter crops, because we can make a decent amount of money from tunnels in winter here. Yeah. We have enough, we're quite fairly warm in winter compared to Scandinavia or continental climates. We can produce a lot. But yeah, these are some of the first good crops I've got of salad brassicas this year,
because of flea beetle?
Flea beetle has just been insane.
Yeah, too hot and dry. This is with the 6-row seeder, right?
6-row seeder, yeah, and it's great. I absolutely love it. It's the salad mix at the moment is really simple. It's just Mizuna, tatsoi, rocket, and lettuce. So usually about 60 to 70% lettuce, and people love it. I mean, it's a really simple mix. Like, I know other growers in the UK who do like super complex mixes, or loads and loads of leaves and picking it all by hand, and it's nice. But this is delicious salad, and it's really quick as well. We sell it quite a lot. We sell about 20 kilos a week at the moment, so it's good. Nice. It works for us.
Look at all this. That's what I dream about. Cool, this is your nursery?
Yeah, it's pretty basic. I mean, this glass house was built about 15 years ago now, and my folks got it off a glass house company which was closing down, so we bought the whole thing for 700 quid.
Awesome.
Super cheap.
But you still got a lot of crops to put in your ground.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot of winter transplants, and what we tried to do is, because we get such a good wholesale market in like April, May, like the Hungry Gap stuff, we can sell any amount of stuff wholesale, and we can get a really decent price for it as well. So we push to have a lot of spinach available. We're going to try and have some overwintered spring onions, and like there's a variety of kale there which is supposed to be like a later flowering variety that you can get some early cropping off.
£700 for this greenhouse?
It's ridiculous.
That is epic.
Yeah. I think they had some like fittings they had to buy, which cost more than the rest of the glasshouse combined.
And I mean, your folks built this house, right? So you were living in caravans when you came for years.
Yeah, like the first 13 odd years of my life we were in caravans.
Tell us about the house, because you grew up in that sort of environment.
Yeah.
So it must have been amazing to have this built.
It was, I remember it being incredibly exciting.
How old were you when the house was going up?
They started building it when I was about 11 or 12.
That's a little compost loo on the back?
Yeah, I built that.
You built it?
My little pet project.
That's epic,
cool.
Dude.
It's nice.
And this is all coated with larch, right?
Yeah, it's British grown larch. It's treated, which is probably unnecessary because larch lasts a long time anyway. They use it for planking ships, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good, and yeah, we'll probably never have to reclad it in our lives, which will be cool.
It's epic.
It's nice, and it's all timber framed, and like it's all heated with a single wood stove. All our hot water, all our heating in the summer, in the winter, is all.
So they really built this up from zero?
From nothing, yeah. It's amazing, really. It's incredible. I don't know how they managed it.
This is your electric vehicle?
Yeah, Yeah,
As
we
for
have
delivery?
an electric van. I mean, it's probably not like a priority of investment to start, but my dad's really into like green technologies and stuff, so he bought an electric van, and it's ideal for deliveries. It's awesome. I mean, it's basically free to run.
And you're basically doing all your deliveries within sort of 12 miles?
14 miles is
14 miles.
It's really good.
That's epic. So I just having a look in the tool shed, I asked if we could see some of the tools they're using. Nice, organised shed.
It's cool. It's like I've reorganised it about 3 times since I've been here, and I'm finally happy with it. Things that I really like, I love having, we have an electric chainsaw, which is awesome. It's super light and really nice to use, not so loud. The knife sharpener is so good. Being able to keep your hose sharp on your weeding is really good.
And for greens harvesters as well, that one?
Yeah, it's good. It is good.
Did you get that one over in the States or in the UK?
No, I bought it here.
Yeah.
I bought it off eBay, yeah. What else do I like? I love the collinear hose. They're like the most incredibly ergonomic tool, you know. I really like that weed management.
Accurate and fast.
Yeah, a good rake, you know, it's one of those simple things that, like, I spent a bit of money and got a good rake, and it's really joyful to use. But obviously the green harvester has totally changed salad production. It's really great. I think I see a lot of people on forums and stuff buying them, but I think you've got to be wary that you do need to grow well to be able to use it well. You've got to grow clean. I mean,
Yeah, clean beds, flat beds,
Yeah.
weed free, and thefarmerstools.com. Board fork?
The broad fork, yeah, I've only got that recently. I had this.
That's off Malcolm?
Yeah, Blackberry Lane.
Yeah.
And
He's just. I'm going to go and see him on the way home, so maybe he might make a video in his workshop.
They seem really sweet because
He's
they always send you a
super
little letter and stuff.
But he's not a. He's an artisanal blacksmith, so he's not that excited. But he's making board forks for the farmer's tools.
Oh, nice! Oh, perfect one. Yeah, it's really good. I made one myself when I started, but it was really heavy and horrible to use. But yeah, 6-row cedar is awesome. I really
Game changer.
The only cedar I use now. We had an old Stanley Robin, which is like, I keep it just because it would survive a like nuclear holocaust. It's like built like a tank, but it's horrible to use. But I keep it around just in case.
So pretty simple stuff. This is like you building on. This is what your folks have been using, and you've just added greens harvester 6-row cedar board fork.
Basically, like the only other thing I would say would be like that hydraulic link box for spreading compost. But that's
this is the knife sharpener. For those of you that are interested in that, there's different markets on the different products on the market, but really good for the greens harvester, and you can use it in a sort of curling way around each tine. You can also do it by hand very easily, and it's good to learn to sharpen by hand also.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think with that, and like, to be honest, it's good. It's quick with the greens harvester, but you lose the lose the point.
Yeah, you don't want to lose a point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you I think you can do it much better by hand.
You have to be. I can show you how you do. Like if you want to not lose the point, I don't know if you just show up on camera. That one you need to, if you're sharpening this, you've got to keep these points because that's what initiates the cut. So the point is more important than the curve. But to keep it there, you need to angle this off flat and do half the curve at once. And then you come back and do the other half. I also do it by hand.
They go dull like that.
Yeah,
that's what happened to me, and that was really annoying.
That's no good because this is what initiates the cut. If I had a hand file, I could bring that one back in to true. It would take me about 40 minutes.
And these are all harvest crates, and it gets harvested into the crate, and then it comes here, and it's either washed at this table here. I have a kind of. This is what they use in pubs to wash dishes. And it hangs like this. It's hard to see. I need to connect that to this.
I get the idea though. That's
it hangs there. So what happens is you can use one hand to be washing while you grab the other one, and then you can let go and move that one there, and you can use both hands and keep it there, and it's really efficient.
Yeah.
I quite like that. It's not so good for all stuff, but I like it for radish, and so I use a kind of gun for beetroot and stuff.
Yeah.
I've got a bubbler and a salad spinner which I made, but I don't even use them anymore.
No? How come?
I just, like, what I was finding is that the spinner, I don't know whether mine's just too powerful or something, but I was finding a lot of leaves were getting bruised and folded, and
It's just a converted washing machine.
yeah, it's good. It's like you can definitely get rid of dirt and stuff, but we can't sell it as washed salad anyway. You know, we can't. We're not allowed to, and I want my customers to be washing it. So
you guys are Soil Association certified, so you've got quite a lot of finicky laws and regulations here.
Stuff like that, yeah. And also, I think that might just be like health and safety regulations. But to sell a washed product, it needs to be washed in like chlorine and stuff like this. You know, it's not something we're going to do. What I'm doing is I'm actually, because I don't use most of that space anymore. Pretty much all I use is the wash down table. I'm actually going to convert this into a walk-in fridge because I don't actually have any refrigeration at the moment. It's been hard to manage this year because all my harvesting has been compressed down to like the morning before I sell it. So we have some, like, our harvest packing days are super intense.
How have your folks done that over the last years? They've just harvested and gone with it.
Basically harvested the same day as you sell it, and you can either spray stuff down to take the field heat out of it, and
so you've never had refrigeration, just water, basically.
Yeah, basically, and
so you made this into like a cool box station.
I'm going to make it into a cool box. Yeah, I've got an old fridge which I bought, which I'm just going to cut the panels to size to fit in here and add a door. Basically.
And then where will you move your wash?
It's probably going to go there, and then I'm going to have crate storage there, I think, because then the workflow will be quite nice because you can
bring the van in.
You can bring the van in, it can come straight out into the fridge, or it can come straight out the fridge into the van if we're keeping veg to be delivered in there.
Yeah.
And it's also really quick to get in between the packing shed, because this is actually the packing shed. We actually, through the e-boxes, we do like bespoke vegetable boxes. And we do Whole Foods as well.
So that's the e-box for references where people can go online and order a selection box of the things they want.
Exactly. It's basically like an online shop where you get it delivered to your door. And we do Whole Foods, which we buy from like a workers' cooperative in Bristol.
Oh, is that the Essential?
Essential, yeah. And so we get like lentils and stuff. So
So they're things that people can add to their box.
Yeah, and it's like it's not a big market for us. It's just something we do because I think it has an added value of people.
It's kind of like we were talking a bit about Rico with you explaining it to your folks, and it's like that's the benefit of having other producers is you get that diversity, but you're creating your own.
Totally, yeah.
Creating your own by adding products into your boxes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a one-stop shop. I mean, that has its disadvantages. It's quite a lot, but can be quite a lot of admin burden to manage that. But it works alright. This is going to be renovated really soon. I'm going to make. I don't know. You might have seen the frames in there, but I'm going to make like a new bench there, which is like the ones I think you use, where you can have access to all the veg there when you're packing the boxes here, and you've got storage underneath for like refills.
Just make a nice workflow.
Basically, yeah. So we want to integrate a lot more tree crops into the farm in general. It's something I'm quite passionate about, and what I'd really like to do is create a mixed fruit Silvio pasture, which could operate as a PYO orchard, basically, a bit like the work of Stefan Saboviak. It's something I'd like to see happen just for the kind of social and ecological element of it. I don't think it's got a lot of legs as a big enterprise. But also we use a lot of wood in our fires, and I want to make wood chip compost for our market garden. So I want to integrate a lot of biomass crops and some coppice, maybe some timber crops, for my kids or whatever. And so it'll be set out basically on north-south tree lanes, quite intense, probably about 12 metres, maybe even less in some areas with smaller trees.
Your folks are happy that you want to take this on, right?
Yeah,
it's been a long pathway.
They're pretty stoked. They seem to.
But it's a big, I see, it's beautiful what you're doing, and to do this with your mum and to rock it so, it's really well cared for, and it's really well thought through. I can see that. And I've heard a bit about some of your other plans, but it's this is a big thing you're taking on, in the sense that you're now starting to steer it and being allowed to, and departing from 30 years of experience, right? So it's pretty amazing to have folks who are that open to. That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Farmers are some of the most entrenched, but I get the feeling your parents are quite outside the box also.
I mean, yeah, they're very open-minded and they're really supportive as well. And I mean, there's always, there is some tensions in decision making sometimes where I got any experience really, and I have and they have 30 years experience where I'm trying to do something totally radically
But they also
different.
understand what this is about is succession, right?
Yeah.
And taking the farm on, and there's nothing I can imagine they would want more than for you to take it on.
Yeah.
And of course there's niggling, it's hard to let go of a thing like that, right? But do you folks have what's your decision making or discussion around that succession? How do you relate to it, and how do you relate to it together?
I mean, I don't really see it as I'm taking over. My mum's gonna probably outwork me, I imagine. She's an incredible woman with a huge amount of energy, and so we're very much just trying to work in a way that is really beneficial for all of us, and not have. I mean, it's hard to not have strict hierarchies in farm management, because decisions need to happen quick, and sometimes you just need to be able to tell someone with the way it's happening.
Yeah.
So we kind of divide bits that we manage, and we wrote a holistic context together. We wrote a holistic goal, which has been really quite instrumental in bringing everybody onto the same page. And
did you do that during the online course?
We did, yeah. And it was great. It was an amazing experience to sit down and really kind of crystallise what it is we're trying to achieve here, And but yeah, I think I'm just I'm lucky, really.
You're very lucky, but with that comes great responsibility, and you're taking that.
Sure.
You're taking that on, obviously. I didn't realise you came here living in caravans and built this.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a farm. When we came, it was just a plot of land. We just bought a plot of land.
Yeah.
But now it's a farm. It's got an address, and it's got
and it's got a business,
and it's got a history, and it'd be nice. I would have wanted it to stay a farm.
So is it? I want to ask you personally, a personal question then for both of you. Is it in one way, of course, you want to see this go on, but in another way, is there another side to that where it's hard to let go of bits of it because it's also your baby?
The boxes are my baby.
Yeah.
It was.
You've built that up with a lot of work and time.
And our customers, we got customers who we had an open day the other day, and got half the customers had been having veg off us 15, 20, 25, 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
One of them worked out. They've been having veg a long time.
One of
and
our
they were there with their
customers
children
brought- yeah.
and their grandchildren.
Yeah.
Which have been
You know,
raised on
that's
our
really
veg,
special.
It's really sweet.
That's
Can you
really
see it in complexion?
I've had customers, when I went to the door, I used to go to the door, and the wife or the mother would be pregnant, and then they'd have their baby, and as I've kept going, year after year, all those kids have grown up, and I've seen them grown up, and they've come to the door, what I mean? It's,
That's amazing.
so that's been.
But that's a whole different time frame. We're at an age where we can't relate to that time scale.
No.
That's the whole of our lives.
But I was Jake's age when we started. I was about Jake's, a little bit older than Jake when we started here.
Yeah.
And I'd never had a farm.
So how, on the back of that though, also so how do you relate to managing that transition? At what point do you let go? Do you see it as a period of transition where you're in mentorship and you're guiding and setting
There's an element.
boundaries?
Yeah, there's an element. Obviously, hopefully, what our experience. For my part, I don't have a problem with letting go of the farm.
This is from the village base?
Yes.
Awesome. This is made by all the mamas around the village.
Yeah.
It's a fun run and stuff, so it's all in one.
It might have won. Did it win a competition? Did they have a competition? They usually have a cake
Back in
competition.
England.
Oh yeah, we have got some.
Now, for my part, I wanted the farm. In terms of succession, I've always, ever since it's been a farm, I've wanted it to stay a farm.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I would have just left it as in my will to the family, and it would have obviously would be gone. That would have been up to them what they did to it. But I would have always preferred it to stay a farm, because we created a farm, and it would be a shame to think of it just falling into disuse.
Sure. Are you happy with the changes that have gone on now? Because they are. We were just talking, like, it's quite a big departure from the methodologies that you've spent.
I have my doubts. Yeah, I have my doubts. Yeah.
But are you feeling happy about it?
Oh, very. Yeah, very. I mean,
That's amazingly open. I was just saying it was really moving for me.
Well,
I wouldn't be like that.
You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. Well, you don't know when your kids are in their 30s and you're thinking of what you're going to do. It's I don't know. I mean, I never really. I'm not precious about the farm. I want it to stay a farm. The fact that Jake has come along and has not only got interested. It's not like he was. Although all the kids did a little bit of work on the farm, that's how they got their pocket money. But he was never raised as a farmer. He went off and did art. That was what he was going to do. That's what we thought he was going to do. And my daughters, they never looked as if they were going to do anything like that. So the fact that Jake has come back with an interest, and not only that, an interest and ideas, is amazing. I mean, I couldn't ever have hoped for anything better. It was something I never considered.
Yeah,
really.
Well, you kind of hope, but I was, not thinking any of them would. When Jake first came back, he had very non-commercial ideas, and I was surprised how trusting I was in him to change. Because some of what he was doing, we talk about it, and I trusted him. If it didn't change, he would make it work. But I was worried that he was going to build a forest garden and stuff that would mean he'd always be able to do other jobs, or he'd always be struggling.
Yeah.
And our lives have been a struggle enough.
Yeah.
But the change in Jake, and as he's changed, I've learned a lot from Jake. And I have learnt to just stand back and let him work it out for himself, because he does very quickly, and he picks things up very quick. I think we're really lucky like that. And the transition from sort of woolly ideas of what would be lovely to, from vegan to now, farmer of livestock, and has been great. And it's really, I've had a lot of faith in his method and what he wants to do, and I haven't found it hard. I thought I would. Up until about 12 months ago, he wasn't particularly interested in the market garden, but he could see that was how we made our money here, was the boxes, and he was willing to to graft and make that work. But since he's fallen in love with it, and I wasn't sure that he would. I thought I would be continuing that and be continuing to run it. But it's absolutely brilliant, because he's very good at putting in systems, and we've got a long way to go to make it easier. But the changes that Jake's made, and the organisational skills, and the tidy is incredible, and I absolutely love it.
I think having a plan is what's made the difference.
Yeah.
It's what Jake is definitely, apart from his youthful enthusiasm and his innovation, it's actually, we actually got a plan. That you feel like there's a direction to the place, and we were just, we were carrying on. I don't know that we had a direction. We'd achieved
like for you
what we needed.
It kind of, you build it up organically.
Well,
as Julian was getting, as his mobility was getting really bad before the operation, I was desperately trying to think of a plan to keep us here and to keep growing here. The thought of moving away, bringing me to tears now, was really difficult. But
what were you doing? You were just working really hard.
I was working really hard, and getting all the veg done, doing all the boxes. I was packing the boxes for nearly 100, all on my own. We weren't making enough to employ anybody, And as the profit was going down, so all the work was, I could see it wasn't getting there, we were okay, but so much were going to the fixed costs. So much what I was doing, I was working just to pay for work, you know, for me to work more basically. And Julian was working hard as well, you know, but it was much more difficult for him. And then Kesh came and, you know, was a great help, and we carried on. He's a real grafter.
He's one of the hardest working people I've
Yeah. And he's been brilliant. So that turned it around there. That was worked very well. But there were areas that I always knew I would still have to be in control of and running. Jake turned up and he can do them better. So it has been quite easy, really. He has made it easy, I think, by his character.
But it's like it's taken a lot on. Do you have anything to share about like the different methodologies and like once they're working, and if they work, then it's like, oh, cool, that's great. But like, did you find like you just were skeptical also in the beginning? And
some of the things I've been skeptical about, but he just goes, yeah, just wait and see, Mum, and you know, and I know that is the way, you know, that you have to wait and stand back and see if it works. It's hard to think of a specific in the past, but yeah, there are times when it's difficult, and more difficult being your son. And just, I mean, I try to get him to call me Jane in front of working situations with other people, or when we got people on the farm, because I don't want to become just Jake's mum. You know, and that's quite difficult for you, isn't it?
No, I've noticed you.
I did try. It's weird. It's quite strange.
You still find
but it is like
there's a boundary there. I think, but like when, you know, because we're in a professional relationship, and yet, you know, like there's.
It's a very interesting. I mean, we've been talking about this everywhere I've been going recently. This idea of working in couples, and finding it very hard to find balances in work and life, and bringing emotions into business decisions that's just totally inappropriate. So I think it's good. I mean,
yeah, I find it probably easier with Jake, the mother-son relationship, and that there is that difference where, so if we're having a discussion or, you know, about work or a different opinion about what we should do or a job, I much prefer him to call me Jane and to keep it on a professional level, and we're able to do that more than, say, you know, as a couple, as me and Julian would, you know. So it's an easier relationship, I think.
And when are you going to retire?
Oh, I don't
She'll
think I
never
will.
retire. She's going to be working.
Have you retired already?
Well, yeah, they had a retirement party for me this year. I was 65, so I'm pensionable, and I get my state pension, so there's no need for me to work on the farm. But I want to feel. I don't want to feel.
You could have gin and tonic shout orders from up
oi! Yeah, where's my tea?
I don't pain in the arse if I was
But I don't mind stepping back from the physical work. But at the same time, I want to make it as easy as I can for the farm to work, and by doing what I can do, as much as I can do. And to oil the wheels, really. I mean, at the moment, you know, that involves me doing collections and deliveries. Well, that's fine. I mean, to me that's important enough. It's an important job for the farm, but it's not a difficult job for me to hold down. If you know, I mean, it's easy enough for me to do.
What do you see happening in the next couple of years? Like, you talked a bit about tree planting and the agroforestry bit, but what about in the market garden specifically? Like, I think you have such different ideas with how you want to drive that to your folks. Like, what are the innovations you see are necessary here now?
I think like just really concentrating it. Like we've reduced the amount of bed space from last year from the tilled ground by about you know, it's about half. It's less than half of the ground we did last year, and we're producing a lot more. But I could do that again. You know, I could
halve it again.
I'm pretty sure.
So hang on, just make that clear. You
halved
halved the size of the garden, and you're producing, I think, like 10,000 euros more of veg or something.
Yeah, way more. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of it is just about utilisation. Like we're utilising stuff better, and the quality is so much better that we're just cropping a lot more out.
So really focusing in on what you actually need to grow rather than trying to grow and just diluting yourself.
Definitely, and just little stuff like, I mean, like with leeks before, everything was done no more than 3 rows in a bed, because that's what they thought the planter could do.
Right.
I mean, I figured out that the planter can do 6 rows in a bed. You just got to go up and down the bed a couple of times, and so just optimizing spacing and getting more successions out of the bed. Like I went quite detailed into my crop planning, but I made a bit of a blunder that I was really too cautious about like how long it would take to get crops out, so I left this massive buffer after a crop to make sure that and what I should have done is the opposite, because what happened is I had like early crops and then like late crops and the mid-season plantings.
But this year was a funny year that it wouldn't really have mattered what you planned in a way.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, like I planned all where like everything was going to go in a bed at the start of the year. Like I had all my beds are numbered, like you can see, and I'm glad the beds are numbered, but next year I think I just want to manage. I'm just going to manage how much beds of stuff I need and do the planting and sowing plans. Yeah. And then just like manage
like succession
beds.
plans.
Yeah, basically just manage your beds as they come, because it's been really hard to manage, like, because I was having to replant it so many times, and basically all I was doing when I replanted it was walking out and seeing what was free. Yeah. And I can just do that on a week-to-week basis anyway. So it sounds like you're going to catch up quite a bunch of weeks just by having things straight in the ground. Yeah. And we'll have a lot of earlier plantings going in this year, and I think we can push a lot more successions out of our beds. I'd like to be getting like 3 crops out of a bed a year.
You're going to shave some crops off?
Definitely.
What are you getting rid of, do you think?
I mean, I haven't done the sums on all the crops because we're still in the season.
So you're going to base it purely on numbers and stats?
Pretty much.
But what do you feel instinctively is going to...
Onions are definitely going. Yeah. Onions are definitely going. Main crop onions, we're going to do some overwintered onions because we have a lot of beds free. And we did some last year and they worked quite well as like early kind of bunched onions for the first boxes. I'm going to cut loads of squash. I don't want to do a lot of squash, and the ones I am doing are bush types that are easy to manage, and they're quite productive. It's just to cut 2 types of Hokkaido squash. A sweet corn I'm probably going to go, and a lot of the brassicas, like a lot of the bigger brassicas crops like sprouts, I'm not going to do again. Which my dad's a little bit upset about. But yeah, and a lot of the kind of, some of those kind of brassicas, like purple sprouting, I'm not going to do again. Stuff that's in the ground a long time and then is low value at the end of it.
And you can lose it quite easily also with. Sure. What do you think? You're in the process of you're very engaged in the branding and remaking the website. And for me, it's like I'm really touched to see the interaction with the family and to see that this is really what it takes for you to take on the business and move into it. It takes some years to do that. It's a filling in process, and of course your parents are going to want to guide that and make sure it's all going good. But it's really important, I think, that you put your mark on it, and having a fresh website and fresh business face and branding is a big part of that. I think it's a very wise thing to do, in that it's allowing you to feel into it, to own it a bit, and it's how I would want to hand off a business to a kid. Exactly. Yeah. So you're doing a big workaround in the back end and making a more efficient sales model on the sort of digital end. And
yeah, pretty much. To be honest, the database that they've built is really good. It can manage orders, bespoke orders, really well, and it's good. And I don't have the time or enough brain to be able to redesign that, I don't think.
Right.
But what I'm really into is like, you know, I studied, you know, I worked in marketing as an illustrator and animator and stuff, and so I'm interested in like the aesthetics and the
visual
branding.
and
And what I'm
graphic,
really interested in is being able to communicate the ecological stuff, which I'm really passionate, to my customers in a way which is not just like an easily digestible sound bite. Like I want to be able to tell people that why, you know, growing in this way and like why the no dig is so good. I want to be able to package that in a way that's part of the
story
branding,
of it.
but really tell the story. And
So it's not going to be called Oxton Organics?
it's going to be called Oxtons. I think it's going to be called Oxtons Regenerative Farmers, you know, as a tagline. But yeah,
Nice.
or just the website's just going to be oxtonsfarm.com.
Yeah.
But it's not online yet, so don't try it. Yeah, and it's going to be cool. I'm really.
So you're basically putting a new skin and face on the thing.
I think that's what I see my job here, is basically optimising the growing and optimising the marketing a bit. And I've changed the way that we manage some of the wholesale customers, in that I've kind of got I'd never used a spreadsheet when I came to the farm, but now I'm like, I'm loving spreadsheets. I really enjoy them. Like,
Nice.
I've taken wholesale orders where it's all just done through online spreadsheets, and it compiles it all into a picking list automatically, and all I have to do is print out the picking. You know, and what the next step in that is to make it all the orders automatically print an invoice as well, because at the moment I'm entering invoices by hand, and it's annoying. So
that could be an app thing also.
Yeah, it could be.
But I think is it on Excel?
It's on Google Sheets.
Right, because Excel can print out, can spit out receipts very easily.
Yeah. It's cool, but it wouldn't work for a lot of customers. Like I couldn't do it with all our direct sales, but with the wholesale it works really well. And it's also, I can also really easily turn that into a record keeping data sheet. But I can just get all my yield data and all my sales data at the end of the year. It's already there, organised by crop.
So you're going to be a busy man.
Yeah, I mean, this year's been pretty intense so far, but I've loved it. I love it. It's great.
Oh, you've rocked it. Wow. Thanks so much, Jake.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, dude, I've been super impressed. That was awesome, Noel. And I'm super keen to keep following you, and I'm really happy to see something awesome going on in the UK, because I just haven't seen much. That's inspired me to come over and have a look, actually. This is one of the nicest kept gardens I've seen in a long time, and one of the best no dig conversions I've seen. Like, you've got to get enough material down and you've got to stay on top of it, and I think Jake's done an epic job with his mum here, and this is definitely a project you want to follow. Where can people follow you?
We're on Instagram and Facebook, and
and the new website will be coming soon.
Yeah, end of the year, hoping to get it done in the winter.
Perfect.
So.
We're going to stick that in the links below, so make sure to follow Jake. I'm super impressed, and I think this is a great garden to follow. Thanks so much for watching, folks. We're off to Worcester
Music Festival.
Worcester Music Festival. Have a beer.
Some burgers.
See you next time.